In Japanese, there's a term called Meraki, and it means essence, something Liam was very good at hiding from himself. At the time of meeting him, I very arrogantly presumed I had healed myself because I no longer wanted to feel pain. Yet healing is not the same as numbing, but I was always taught by my dad that silence and how you keep things in is some form of healing and not rotting. I had lost my dog, I had lost my sense of direction, and reached a pinnacle point in my internal journey of being overwhelmed by my daddy lesson. To show pain is to open the door for someone who will shut it. For my father, making me cry was a personal joy. For my mother, there was no way I had ever suffered quite like her because she was such a great mom. That inability to feel safe to cry, even in private, might be why Liam entered the room and just knew. She's an artist and a dumbass. Within days, we were inseparable, and I truly believe that sadness glues you to people, but time shows you that trauma bonding is not a bond at all. How you mutually feel pain does not mean you share the same definitions of love. For Liam, much like my dad, he swore life had been so harsh to him. People, especially women, were spokes on a ladder. They were supposed to help him climb. And friendship was the person you broke with your pain so that you had enough strength to look happy in front of the people you wanted to use. It would only be in perspective that this 9 month toxic friendship felt like a final haul of my daddy issues, attracting me losers. By week three, I'd written him an album, and the exchange was clear, but he would forget, like most men, what he had to do produce my tracks. I wrote his songs, and immediately he fell in love with my voice, and I needed the boost. I never doubted I was talented, but growing up so uncared for, especially emotionally, makes you doubt anyone would really listen. You feel like a talented nothing, too empty inside to see what you have is enough to gain more from those around you. Like most love bombers and potential thieves, Liam matched my dad's energy of lathering me up with compliments to eventually turn his tongue into judgment. After his album was nearly written, he crossed boundaries that became strange, like trying to hang out with my friends without me. But again, it was always businesswomen, of which Liam was gay. Suddenly, he was getting free PR from one friend and a free event space from another. And I was shocked in part because I assumed my father's secret world of misogyny stemmed from his sexual escapades, treating women like dolls he could rip while he wondered what he really wanted to rip him. Yet Liam was supposedly out and proud, and most found his ability to gossip about others, again women, to be charming. Yet they were all red flags to misogyny and deep seated belief that you have the right to take from others without ever giving back. You are obsessed with reciprocity, he said, rolling his eyes, and right there I knew my 8 songs that he had produced would never be returned, and I was unsurprised that he did not accredit me as a singer, songwriter on his tracks, preferring to only highlight men, like giving a feature to a guy that was just his background guitar singer. He only saw life as something to consume, with the only ones ever getting their songs back being men that he stayed having sex with. Well, if they stayed having sex with him. Yeah, the real problem for me is that within weeks he was revealing every single trauma that ever happened to him, from hating his mom to being in a psych ward. And what is wild is that I did not see that swing as a red flag, that this man would never respect me. I was too busy being his comforting diary to not realize he had begun judging me for what I wear or how I eat. Yet I was tripping on the fact that even despite all the platonic supposed professional bonds, he treated me like a girlfriend he despised if she was not helping him handle his innate ability to flatten a note, even with training. In perspective, Liam was a brief, but a lot in my life. He was brief, but a lot in my life because of how my ego convinced me I do not have to look at my wounds to close them. While I'm proud that we barely made it to a year of friendship, as old Leandra would have probably been his buddy for a decade, I get sad that he cannot return one song when I took care of his pets, found every STD doctor to cure his resurgent crabs, and became his call when he had bouts of crippling depression. I was frustrated because I gave my world to a no one that did nothing for me, and truly believed I was not only personally healed, but important to him. My dad had truly trained me to be emotionally servile for nothing. All right, let's discuss, let's heal. So I think with Liam, it's so funny because I do think he was a karmic relationship. He was so similar to my dad, and he had come into this point where I was so determined to heal. Like, I just felt, and I'm sure there are people out there who understand this feeling of you can't break me anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't go through further pain. I am emotionally, mentally, even physically at my rock bottom. There's nothing worse than my life right now, and I'm not. It just doesn't get. It doesn't get any worse. And it's this false belief that because you're done with your life, life is done with you, at least in terms of suffering. So I kind of, you know, I have talked about my suicidal ideation, and I have talked about just feeling really, really low, like I will never be alive again, like I shouldn't live. And it was one of those points where I didn't want to live, but I also felt like I can't die. Like I've tried two times, they both failed. I don't want to go through that again, of that energy of feeding that suicidal beast to either fail again or succeed and be like, "What? I did that?" Um so I kind of became extremely arrogant, and I just thought, well, life is horrible. I'm absolutely decimated. It's going to get better now. And I started putting myself out there, and it's just amazing. I think that's the thing about Daddy Recovery. We are all energy, and how you move through this world matters in terms of who you attract. And I have always attracted people with a lot of pain, but also criminality. Like the exchange was, I write his album, he gives me credit as a songwriter, and he produces my tracks, like mixes and masters my beats, and I give him a credit by a producer, as a producer on my album. And the crazy part about this is that I was so quick and immediate. I mean, I think I probably wrote him like 15 songs within a week, melodies, hooks, choruses. He was deeply impressed because he wasn't a good songwriter and a good singer, but he was he had two things that I didn't have as an artist yet: how to present himself. Like he just walked into rooms like he was a star. And he was delusional enough to think that his talent was good, or at the very least, good enough to be a thief and to kind of be shady, because he was only giving music, if he did, to people, to men, if they slept with him, which is one of those weird things of like, that sounds like a predator, Deandra. And, but the thing about, and it's something that probably is very important in this post election, and it's something I noticed with my dad, who's very DT, Donald Trump energy, their ability to present horrible things as nonchalant. I remember one time he was talking about this guy he was really into, and he was going to produce a track if he slept with him, like give it back to him. And I don't know if the guy slept with him, but it was almost like he was using his skills to be skeevy. You know, his Meraki was very, very poor. And I didn't pick up fully. I think I saw red flags, but I was so desperate for like a new roster. I was grieving, and I was desperate to. I had not just lost my dog, I had lost family members, and I had all this mess of family issues. And I was just so desperate to get to that finish line, that alternate worth, that alternate world, that alternate dimension where I had good people, and I was proclaiming myself as an artist, and I was safe, and I was happy, and I was healthy, and I wasn't living under the veil of all these toxic lessons and traumas that my parents and their families handed to me. And I just thought, if I'm conscious of it and if I'm ready for better, then automatically I'm going to get it. And boom, Liam came. My dating life was absolutely atrocious. I could not find one good person. My career was flat, like just no opportunities. And I couldn't understand, because I was so ready for better. And I think that made me, he was such a, I think what shocked me was he was so manipulative and love bombing towards women without being sexually attracted to them, and particularly business women. I mean, he He started taking this woman out to dinner, Gentrelletti. You could hear about her episode. He started taking this woman out to dinner, and so he would give her a cheaper rent, and she did. She cut his rent by like $400, and again, all these things are happening, and I was a fool to think I was important enough because he didn't tell those women that he had been in a psych ward. He didn't tell those women that he, I don't know what red lobster was in his penis, but he was getting crabs. He didn't tell these women that he was trying to use sex with um, get sex via how he produced for men. He didn't tell these women what he was doing. And right there, when I look in perspective of my friendship with Liam, that was my dad. I had become the diary to somebody who was a thief, who didn't actually like the people he was surrounding himself with, and didn't mind. I hate my mom. My dad was horrible. Did I ever tell you I almost got arrested? Like all these stories of all these horrible things that he was either doing or had happened to him. And I really thought I was important because I was his diary. And I really thought if you share pain with somebody, in some ways you're sharing love. And they're so separate. They are so separate. Even if we suffer similarly, it doesn't mean we love the same. It just doesn't mean that. And I think this post election proves that. You could be a part of a vulnerable group because honestly, we're all a part of one of the biggest, most vulnerable groups that rarely is spoken about, the poor. And people really thought, well, I'm so poor that I'm going to vote against women and and black women and Latinas and I'm going to vote against every ethnic, gender, class, sexuality that I deem lesser than me so I could gain more money, only to be hit by a tariff within week one. And that was the thing about my dad. He would destroy anyone for money, and particularly women, because he thought if you're stupid enough, if you're ugly enough, if you are, like a man in pain will excuse his personal pain and demons for why he became the devil to another woman and never see there was he may see the connection in terms of motivation, but he will never see the connection in terms of that makes you a thief, that makes you a criminal, that makes you a predator, that makes you a liar, because if I said those things to Liam, he would have ended his life. And I didn't say it to him because I felt he ended mine. And he was so trivial, so unimportant, so small. But at the time, I was in such need, desperate, desperate, desperate. And he ended up stealing all my songs. I have to watch him because he did not accredit me, and I'm totally terrified that he will use, because again I was a better songwriter and I was writing my songs, I was writing his songs. All he had to do was just mix and master. I think he did 3 beats out of all the songs, the 8 songs. I did the rest. Never did it. And what's wild is our friendship barely lasted a year, and all this happened. All these flags, all this bombarding of bad behavior, talking shit about women, stealing from women, using women, being a sexual deviant in terms of, I'll produce you if you ask me, like all this diddy behavior. And it's almost like I experienced a live action spiritual Trump rally on my life where DT was on the stage saying all this BS that is nonsensical. I don't understand. I'm cheering for no reason, just to see in the end that I got screwed over by this person because my pain is so much more deeper than what I could have ever imagined. And I'm so desperate to get better that I think if I just skip looking at the pain, holding the pain, handling the pain, going through the pain, and follow anybody with a kind word despite their mean actions, I'll get better. And you shouldn't be so inseparable with someone so immediately. That's a red flag. I shouldn't become your everything without you becoming anything to me. Because that's the thing. When I finally got him out of my life, aka you're talking to a triple ghoster here, um, Queen Ghoster, it was like I had removed nothing. I had removed, he didn't do anything for me. He didn't pay for my rent. He didn't give me my songs. He wasn't that funny. I found myself often trying to help him as a singer because he was an okay singer. Thank God for autotune. And it's like this haze leaves you and you start seeing like he didn't have a skill that I couldn't learn. He didn't have a personality that I couldn't get a better one out of myself and someone else. So what was I tied to? And I think it's that daddy issue of I never told him. I gave hints and we did have like a confrontation, but he gaslit me. And that's a new thing. Gaslighting men love to say women gaslight them when they just say, "Hey, you stole my music. I know you didn't mean it. Give it back." Because that was my thing. I didn't even call him a thief. I just, "Hey, it's been 8 months and no finished track for me. Do you mind doing that?" "Oh, I've just been so busy working and my sex life. Let's do brunch." It's like, how about we don't do brunch? And for one night, put it in the pants and give me the song. It was like, even that was an excuse. He napped a lot. He had a lot of sex. He was, work. I mean, honestly, he could have just said, I got an ingrown nail today. That's why I couldn't take 3 hours to just finish the song and send it. Um, and my boundaries were low because my pain was high. And I didn't see that connection because I'm so scared of ending up alone that I will be with anyone. And it's because I was always alone. My family didn't love me. My dad didn't love me. My mother's family, I don't feel they really did love me. And that's a complication I'll get through eventually or talk about. But this is daddy recovery, so let's focus on dad. Even his family, I mean, they liked me. And Liam liked me because I'm entertaining and I'm creative and I lift you up and I don't judge you. If the first day you meet me, you're asking me where you can heal your crabs. I don't, I have no, I'm trying to judge people more because that is weird. And when he said that he had time in psych wards, I don't want to judge anybody for their mental health, but at the same time, this guy is already proving weird. And I'm like, do you want to get steak? What the F am I doing? And I think it comes from my dad was just so evil and always plotting. And I was so obsessed with the label. Like Liam was a producer, my dad was my dad, Mr. H was my dad. My mother's family was my mother's family. My father's family was my father's family. I felt like I was a live action property. I was a moving possession and I was entering people's worlds. Almost like that monkey that clashes their symbols. And I didn't realize I was a loser because I hung out with losers. And I thought because I didn't share their morality, like I would never steal someone's music. I would never not accredit someone. I would never. Men have decimated my life. And I still don't think they're all evil. But yet, he thought all women were to be used. All women were to be hated in some way. Because he gossiped about everybody. And like an idiot, I realized he was gossiping about me because we had a mutual friend who called me to say, "Hey, I've noticed you're distant with him." And they did the weird Mean Girls thing where he was there while she was talking to me, but he didn't appear until the end. You know, it's weird when men act, have this concept of women as bitches. Because it wasn't that he was acting like a woman, it's that he was acting like a bitch. And I don't know how to explain it. It's this thing of like having a definition of women as catty and petty and mean and vicious and manipulative and liars and spokes on your ladder to climb, because he didn't even the irony is he was the friend that called me, he was terrified of her because he thought she was a hot mess that didn't know anything about money, but somehow, he got an event space via her, and she connected him to this director who he also hated, thought was a white colonizer user. I mean, but how could I not think? And he had just met that guy. How could I not think that that guy did not have a low concept of me when he was still not giving me my music? And he took it. My God, I swear, if I hear him sing one of my songs, I'm not only going to sue him, but I'm going to mute him. Please do not flatten out my songs, Liam. Please. But, oh, wait.